That win, first of all, on Saturday night in really tough conditions, probably get real galvanising onto the group.
Yeah, it was obviously very pleasing for the group. We probably didn't start the way we would like to, weren't at the level, obviously, and credit to St Kilda, they took it to us, and I think the most pleasing thing was able to bounce back in the contest post that first quarter. So as a group, it was a big win for us and showed a lot of maturity as a team. So yeah, great things to take from it.
How are you finding your comfort level? A dozen or so games under the belt now. You're starting to get a bit of a feel for, the top flight.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of know what's expected of you, and I think if you go out there and you just play your role and that's all you aim to do, and you focus on what you got to do and how you can help the team is the most important thing. So I've just been trying to do that, and all the while trying to build my game at the same time.
How was it for you before you made your debut? There was a lot of sort of fans and media calls for you to come in. I remember Nixie a few times saying that you'd been sort of knocking on his door and stuff like that. How was it for you in that period before you got your first game?
Yeah. Obviously there was a bit of noise and stuff like that, but talking to a lot of the coaches, Marco Bello, Nathan Van Bello, they were great for me. They were able just to keep me internal and just knowing what I had to improve on and not listen to the outside noise as much. So I was pretty focused on what I had to do and the role I had to play to get to AFL footy, and it's probably helped me, allowed me to mature my game. So when you do come to AFL, you know what's expected of you and you perform, I guess.
Were you aware of that you were sort of the people's champion for half the year?
I heard a bit of noise from mates and stuff like that, but try not to get too caught up in it. You got to sort of stay level-headed and focus on your own game, not get too caught up in the outside noise.
Is that, I know that's the thing all footballers say, but is it hard to do when you feel like you're in good form, you hear that noise? Is it hard to remain patient, and how do you do that, I guess?
I think the most important thing is, speaking to the people around the club, like Rosie, our psychiatrist, she's great and what she does, and I would visit her and just say my mind, what I'm thinking, and she was able to bring me back to what I had to do and the role I had to play, and that allowed me to stay level-headed throughout my games and not try to do too much, just know what I had to do for the team. And yeah, I think speaking to those mature people allowed me to just relax and sort of focus on what I had to do.
Did that sort of help you think, when you came into the team, that it wasn't like it was off the back of a couple of good weeks? You had such a good season in the sample leading in that by the time you came in, you sort of settled in pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you're able to tinker a lot of things in your game at Sanford level, and that's a really high level league, obviously, so they take it to you, or the Oppo. So you're able to learn a lot throughout that period, and playing alongside a lot of AFL experienced players who are able to gain a lot of understanding. And when you review the game, you can tinker a few things still at the Sanford level, and then come to AFL and you feel probably a lot more well-rounded and confident in your own ability. Yeah.
And how you talk about your role in the AFL side, how are you seeing that over the last month or so? It's a bit different to full-time on ball, and you have to do a few other things. So how have you adjusted to that? Yeah,
exactly. I think just understanding what's required of me, speaking to the coaches, Nathan Van Bello and Marco Bello, as I mentioned previously, and so just knowing what my patterns need to look like defensively and offensively, and then just staying in touch with Dawson and the other mids, and just keeping in touch with what they're doing inside, and just keeping well-rounded, I guess.
It was a long time ago now, but in your third game you kicked the goal against Tigers, I think it was, correct if I'm wrong, and then you had another one late in the game and didn't quite flush it. Do you sort of remember how that sort of played out and almost learn from those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I think at the time probably rushed it a little bit. Obviously first game jitters, but that was great to learn from, because then I've probably had a couple of set shots where I've just sort of relaxed, taken a bit of a deep breath, and just allowed me to calm myself and go back and have to execute. So that was great learning for me, and to have something like that really early in my career is probably a blessing in disguise, as much as you probably don't enjoy it at the time, but it's great to learn from.
What was going through your head?
A fair bit was going through my head. I didn't know how much time was left, so I tried to run back quickly and kick it, but I didn't know there was a bit of time on the clock, so it's a bit going through the head, but yeah, it was good to learn from.
Was there a bit of a baptism of fire coming into the team when there was obviously a little bit of pressure around the place and scrutiny, and then obviously the Richmond loss happens straight away? What was that like to debut in and around that period?
Yeah, well, I think for us it was just getting back to the basics of what we had to do. I think our contest probably wasn't at the level, and since then we've been able to go back to what made us such a successful team over the last couple of years. So to go back to the contest and just seeking the footy's been the most important thing, and it's great to learn from, because we're a young group, so you have those moments where you probably have a couple of games where you're up and down, but as long as you address it and bounce back, it's the most important thing.
What was it like though for you to come into a team that had that scrutiny on it at that point? Was it a sort of baptism of fire?
No, I don't think it was too bad. Obviously, you just know what you got to do personally, and as a group, you don't want to get too caught up in how you're tracking as outsiders and what they're saying about you. So I think just knowing what you have to do personally, then you go in there and you don't have too much going through your head, and you just got to execute game day.
now got, obviously with Bondi coming in too, you've got a lot of guys who've played a lot of time in the sample. There's been the sort of core of guys that have come through. Has that helped everyone sort of settle in, that you've got a bunch of guys who played together at both levels?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a great young group coming through now, which is awesome. We're all very close as teammates and mates off field, so it's awesome to see people like Bondi coming through, and they're all blokes that have spent time, like you said, at sample level, and they're coming at the level and now achieving what they need to do for the team. So obviously, extended periods might be frustrating for some people at sample level, but by the time you get to AFL, you probably feel well versed to go out there and perform.
It's a bit of a two-part question, but have you spent much time with Dan Curtin in his early days so far at the club?
Yeah, definitely. Dan's been great. Lives with Bondi, so a fair bit to do with him. He's a very good player, and he's got a lot of talent, so it's exciting for what he'll do in the future.
How's he tracking? Because I guess you've sort of had that experience. You want to get into the senior side, you can't. It takes a while to get there. He's obviously had a little bit of a taste of it, and he sees a lot of these other younger guys getting in, but he at the moment is sort of sitting on the outside. So how's he handling that?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of people in his corner that are really helping him. Like you said, it takes time. So it's going to be something where, at the end of the day, he's a first-year player. He's only been here for 9 months or so. So there's not too much pressure on him as a club. Like, we know that he's got awesome talent, and like we've been saying, there's been players who've had extended periods at sample level, and then they come in and they perform. So he knows what he has to do, and I don't think he's too worried. It's still early days for him, yeah.
For you personally, what have been some of the major differences between the AFL and then going back down to the sample as well?
Yeah, definitely probably the intensity. It's obviously a different game. It's quicker at the AFL level, and probably the oppo you're playing can hurt you if you're not that sort of switched on straight away. So it's been great learning from that, and 5 games now? It's been awesome each game, sort of taking a few things out of each game, bringing to the next one, which has been great.
You guys, like you mentioned momentum, you've won 2 of the last 3. Do you guys feel like you're in a situation now where you can finish off the year really, really strongly? Yeah,
definitely. That's a goal. I mean, we've been talking about how important it is to finish off this year, and to whatever that comes into, whether that is just finishing off the year strongly. So it's been really important for us to make sure we finish this year off well, and bringing momentum to whatever it is at the end of the year.
I always talk about your welcome to the AFL moment. Do you think you've got one? Is there something you remember, or a moment?
Probably playing on Lachie Neale last week against Brisbane. He's obviously a player, and learned a few things off him, but probably taught us a little bit of a lesson.
What's that like? I mean, you watched Lachie for the last 10 years, be one of the superstars of the comp, and then all of a sudden you're watching him towel up your midfield. Is that sort of a surreal sort of moment? Yeah,
in a way, like it's it's obviously a bit different, but by the time you're out there, like, you just sort of look at them as another oppo, and you don't get too starstruck, I guess. So it's obviously a weird feeling. Like, if you told me that 5 years ago, I'd probably have a different response for you. But when you're out there, I guess it's just another oppo that you're playing against.
Did you idolise him at all, given you're both from Saints, mate? Or?
Yeah, Saints boy. So I heard a lot about him growing up. A lot of coaches, staff always used to talk to me about him, obviously being a Saints boy. So it was awesome having him, like, looking at him and seeing what he was doing in the league. So, to be playing against him was, pretty awesome.
Probably couldn't have asked for more of an impact from Riley Philthorpe as the sub. How's he been this week? Really a perfect return, really.
Yeah, he was awesome. So obviously he's still early days. I think he's played 2.5 games for the year. So to see him come out and have an impact like that, we all know what he can do as a player. So to show that in the quarter he had was unbelievable, and hopefully there's many more of that to come for him. He's a great player.
What's a bit of time before the next pre-season, but do you try and get a hold of his gym program?
I don't know what he's been doing. He's an animal in the gym. I don't know how he does it, but he's put on some size. Yeah, he's in good nick.
Great. I was about to say, you much of a super coach guy, mate?
Used to be a super coach guy.
I was just wondering whether any of your mates that are involved in the game sort of had mentioned that you obviously rescued some teams on the weekend.
Well, yeah. I mean, a few of them talked to me about it, but you used to love it back in my day, but I don't really understand it all as much now. So, yeah, but used to love my super coach, actually.
I think you had your first ton.
Did I?
Yeah,
take that. That's important. First ton race about.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Have a good one.